Hello and welcome to Jerry's Live. My name is Michaela and I will be your host this evening. Now, today we're talking about some kind of important ideas and things to remember when it comes to applying to shows. Now, if you have created some beautiful art and the whole purpose of creating art is for it to be seen, you want to make sure that you find the right place for your art to be seen. So today I'm going to talk about the right way to find a perfect show for you, the things to look out for, the things that you need in order to prepare, and all of that fun stuff. So since we have quite a bit to go over today, we're going to jump right on in. So what I did to prepare for this show is I went and looked for 5 different show ideas or opportunities and kind of found things that are similar, some things that are different, and they all kind of give you an idea of what they might be looking for when you start applying. Now, the one place I go to above all else is going to be Call for Entry. This is a website for artists that has calls for art, whether that's making murals, gallery shows, solo shows, whatever it is. That's where artists go that I know that need something for them. So they have different ways to search on their website. My favorite thing is that you can make an account and a portfolio on this website, so you have all of your information saved, as well as the works that you might have applied with before. If you didn't get into a show, you still have that information saved in your profile, and you can apply to another one with that same art. Now, when you are searching for a specific show, there's a couple things you want to keep in mind. There are going to be, for some shows, an entry fee. Just to apply, you have to pay to have them look at what you've submitted. Some of them are free. There's also location is a big thing. If you want to make sure that you don't ship your art, maybe you want to drive it directly to the studio, you want to look for something more local. So that's what I did. I narrowed this down to galleries or opportunities in the states of North Carolina and Virginia. I'm living currently in North Carolina and I have family in Virginia, so for me, driving to either of those states or anywhere in either of those states doesn't seem too bad for me. So let's go ahead and switch over to the overhead and take a look at some of these opportunities that I've found. Now this top one here, I believe this one is in Virginia. This is a gallery show for the Suffolk Art League, and their theme for this one is Dadaism. So if you're not familiar with the period of art called Dada, it's very nonsensical and absurd and like anti-art and anti-logic. It's very fun. So this one really got my attention because I like being a little experimental sometimes. I like being a little surreal. So this one, I feel like I could find something that I've already made that would fit into this show. So the things that I'm looking out for whenever I have one of these is one, when is the entry deadline? How long do I have to submit something to this show in order to be considered being a part of it? So I went through all of these and I highlighted. The entry deadline for this one is the 19th, so I don't have a lot of time left to apply to this show in particular. Another thing is they have a membership at this location. If you are already a member of their league or their society, the entry fee is going to be different than if you are not a member. So that's another thing to keep in mind. Since I'm not a member, my entry fee is going to be a little bit different. Another thing is you want to know how many images you are submitting or how many pieces of art you're submitting. Some just want 1. Some can say between 5 and 10. This one is asking for a minimum of 3 up to 6. So that's another really important thing to keep in mind is how much art are you submitting for them to look at. Another big thing is their description. So this is going to tell you exactly what they're looking for. If you read this and you understand this and then you apply this to your searching for art that you might have already made, or you're going to make something new, this is what they're going to be looking for. This is their ramifications of like applying to the show. So if you follow this and you read this and you understand this, beautiful. That's exactly what you need. So this is they're describing Dadaism and specific artists that were making art during the Dada time period. And then they go on to their application requirements. So this is different. So this is like their theme. This is the requirements you need in order to submit your artwork. So they're open to all mediums. So some shows kind of have restrictions for mediums, but they're open to all mediums. As long as you haven't exhibited at this gallery before and it's been completed within the last 2 years, that's perfect. I already have something that's been created within the last 2 years and I haven't shown with this gallery before. The last thing is that I really enjoyed from this particular call for entry is if you are a non-member and you pay that non-member fee, it comes with a membership. So if you apply to this show and you're a non-member, even if you don't get in, you're now a member of this gallery, so you have benefits for future shows. So I thought that was really interesting. So that's one. I have a couple others. This one is an annual juried show. This one is also in Virginia. Again, they have a description. They're explaining what their theme of their show is. They have an idea in mind of how all the art is going to connect together. And they've described that so that when you are applying, your work is going to fit in with what they're looking for. Another thing that they're going to do is if it is a juried show, they're going to have a juror. And a lot of times they're going to tell you who that juror is in case you want to know what do they really like? What does their art look like? If you want to get inside the mind of the juror, they have a little bio here for the juror of this show in case you want a little bit more insight before applying. Looks like this one is minimum of 1, so you're only going to get potentially 1 in the show, but you can also go up to 3, so you could submit between 1 and 3 pieces of art, and the entry fee is $35. I think that's pretty average. I'd like to go for the ones that are a little bit more free. There are options like that out there. You can actually refine your search on Call for Entry. It's C-A-F-E. Call for Entry. You can refine your search and look for only shows in your area that don't have an entry fee. So if that's what you're looking for. Another thing that this one has is they have a timeline. You can see the date that the exhibition is, the date that your entries or your photos are due, the date that you're going to be notified if you've gotten in or how many have gotten in, your delivery date, so by the time that you need to get your art to the gallery, whether it's being shipped or personally driven to that gallery. And then they also have their different, they have an award ceremony on here and the opening exhibition, as well as when you're going to pick up your art. So sometimes if you're shipping your art, they might just ship it back to you, but sometimes they ask you to pick it up yourself. You want to make sure that you know what they are looking for in this before you even apply, because maybe they want something that you're not used to or you don't want to do. Being informed before you apply, this is going to have everything you need. I always recommend reading this entire thing before you apply. It's going to give you everything you need. Now lastly, they have very specific eligibility criteria. So this one, they want your artwork to be properly labeled on the back with name, title, media, and year. So sometimes when you're submitting art, not just, you might need more than just a photo in the physical art. They're going to want signage on the back so that they know who did it, the media it is, and it's at a quick glance on the back. I usually just put a sticky piece of paper or a sheet of paper, write all that on there and paste it on the top right corner or right in the middle. Again, this is going to be something important. If you send this in and you don't have that, they might not accept it. Or maybe they're a really good gallery and they ask you to come in to add that to your piece before they put it up. The next thing they have is if you are submitting 2D art or 3D art, they have different things that they're looking for. So if you are submitting 2D art, make sure it is ready to hang with appropriate hardwire, so no sawtooth hangers. A lot of galleries don't like sawtooth hangers. And it must be dry. So if you have an oil painting and you just finished it last week and it's still a little tacky, they might not accept it just because it's going to be, it's not great to have something that's still drying, and then if they're hanging it on the wall, you don't want any mistakes being made. So just try to make sure that your work is completely dry, sealed, ready to go. That way if someone else is handling it, you don't have to have any worries. For their 3D work, they do require display instructions. So they are going to put your 3D work in the gallery. They want to know how you want it displayed, what angle that you want it seen at, the lighting. They want those instructions if you're not going to be there to set it up. So if they're going to do it, they want to know exactly how you want it to be perceived and viewed by the public. This is also another show where you are responsible for delivery and pickup, so either shipping it or bringing it to this gallery, and then also picking it up at the end. All right. This is another one that I was looking at. This one, the deadline is rolling. So they do this continually, either every year or every couple months. And so they have a different way of showing. Let me see if this is the one. Oh, okay, so they do it by the 10th of the month is when you have to submit it by. So if I'm going to be doing it right now, I've already missed September 10. So October 10 is my new deadline. Notification of acceptance is on the 20th of the month. So this is a monthly thing, it looks like, but they have dates for you to keep in mind, even though they don't have a specific date up here. And then it shows the exhibition date is on the 1st. This is actually for a solo show online. And this is not just submitting 1 to 3 pieces of art to be shown with a bunch of other artists. This is your art and your art only with a large variety of what you've created. So they're looking for a minimum of 8 pieces up to 10. So this is you creating a collection of artworks that work together. And that's going to require a couple different things than these ones did. So for this one, you're not only going to want to have a cohesive body of work, so all of your 8 to 10 pieces work well together. Maybe they should have similar sizes or similar framing, something that ties them together. And then they're going to want the title, measurements, as well as maybe an artist bio. If this is a solo show, they're going to want to know about the artist who created all of these works. So they're going to ask for an artist bio. They say they want it in 3rd person, so keep that in mind. If you already have a bio and it's not in 3rd person, you might want to have to adjust that. They also want a title of your show. So you're going to want to not only create titles for each specific piece of art, but also a title for all of those pieces of art as a collection. They're going to want an artist statement. So if you think about this collection of art, how does it all fit together? Do they have a very similar theme? And if that's so, you can talk about it. If they all have similar mediums, how do you talk about your creation process? Like, you don't have to only think about themes and subject matter. You can talk about how the action of making is part of the reason why this collection is the way it is. But that's what that artist statement is going to be for. Website URL is going to be needed for this one. So if you have your own website, you can put that in there. And if you don't, they have some really easy sites where you can make one super quick and super easy. Social media handles. So if you already have social media, they just want all of this information. So if people see your art in this solo show, they know that they can find you in some way and maybe ask for commissions or purchase some of your art. that's going to be super beneficial to you. And they also ask for your photos that you submit with are JPEG files. Do we have a question?
We do. On YouTube, someone was wondering if you're shipping your art to a gallery or something and it needs to be shipped back afterwards, would you also include prepaid shipping for them to send it back, or would the gallery handle that?
They'll say in here, if you are responsible for shipping, they'll say you're responsible for either the shipping cost or shipping insurance. They'll say it in there. If they don't say that and you're not sure, they always have, especially with these call for entry submissions, they have contact email and contact phone number. So if you're not quite sure about something on one of these pages, you can contact them directly and get like refined details. I do recommend if you are shipping artwork, not only should you have display instructions, but you should have packing instructions. So if you make the packing super easy to follow, like if you have a cutout of foam and your work fits perfectly in there, and then you have a top piece and you just put like a piece of paper, this is how I put this package together, they'll be able to do the same thing and ship it back if they're responsible for that.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. The only other thing with this one is the specific things that a lot of call for entries are going to look for. So they're going to look for a title. What did you title the piece? They're going to look for the year it was made. Sometimes you can put the month and the year if you're making a lot of art. They're going to want a price. So a lot of shows are going to request that your art is going to be ready to sell, or it has to be sellable. So if you're submitting something you don't want to sell it and it's for a show that is requesting that, that might be an issue for you. So make sure you keep an eye out for that in particular. If they are requesting that your art is to be sold, you have to find a price and make sure you're okay with selling that specific piece. They're going to want to know the medium and the materials. So what is it painted on? What is it painted with? Is it mixed media? Does it have a couple other things in there? Did you accidentally drop a pin in your painting and now it's part of your painting? They're going to want to know those things. The classification. So this is like if it's a one-of-a-kind piece, if this is the only one of its kind, or maybe you've created a collection of prints, maybe it's part of a series. They're going to want to know if this is something unique or limited edition, all that fun stuff. They're also going to want to know the measurements. And when they say measurements, if you are framing something, make sure you get the measurements before framing and after framing. They're also going to want to know the weight, especially if you're shipping it or if they're displaying it on a wall and it's really heavy. They're going to want to know what kind of material they're going to use to hang it on the wall. And it does say here that they say provide frame measurements if it is framed. So yes, before and after framing. Same with if you're photographing your work, you want to make sure you get a photograph without the frame as well as with the frame in case a different show requires something different. All right, and then this is another one. All entries must be for sale. So keep an eye out for those things. Now here's another one. This one I thought was really interesting. Now, growing up back home, my family worked in the medical field, so I've been in and out of like different hospital areas, and they have artwork, like real artwork on the walls for the patients. Now, this is exactly what this is. This is a medical building looking for art specifically to inspire positive reactions for their community living or staying or walking through this building. So they're looking for something that's hopeful and healing, and I just thought that was really sweet and I really enjoyed that. And they talk about how they're going to do this every 3 months, and it's a high traffic public space, newly renovated. Everything about this seemed really fun, and I learned all of that in just this tiny little description area. When you are submitting, they're asking to submit clear 3 to 5 pieces for consideration. Make sure you include name, brief bio, sizes, prices, and then they state the mediums that they're accepting. And then, since this is another one where it's a rolling deadline, they do this 4 times a year, they have the quarters laid out and their very specific dates on here. So it shows quarter 1, between November 15th through July 1st or January 1st. I'm currently in the range of the 4th quarter. So their submissions are open from August 15th to October 1st. They're going to decide on the 15th, hung by the 1st. And I have all of that information here. They broke it down differently than that previous one did, where they just give you, we're going to do the same thing every month. It's on the 1st, the 10th. This one, since it's split into 4 quarters, they have the exact dates that they're going to do everything. And then lastly, another place you can go to for finding shows or contests is the Jerry's website. So this is this month's monthly contest. This is for a visual narrative, and it states not only the winning prize or the total prize money that's awarded, it has everything you would need to know. So on here, here's the challenge brief. It's going to tell you the theme that we're going for, what we're looking for in the submissions. And it also says all of the things that we require for a full submission. So we're looking for your name, your email, the size of your work, so your dimensions, and the medium used. And then we also have some rules here. We always make sure that everything is made by the artist. Any medium is allowed. Make sure it's original artwork. It's open to the US, and winners are announced monthly. Now we do this every month. This is September's monthly challenge. If you are interested in this, the final deadline to submit, I believe, is this Sunday. So definitely check this out if you are interested. All right. Now that was all of the specific shows I was looking to show you guys. Now that you've decided maybe on which show you would like to apply to, the next thing you're going to want to do is prepare your artwork for the show. So to start off, here's an oil painting I did. The first thing you want to do, whether it's a drawing, a painting, whatever it is, you want to make sure that you put either a varnish or a fixative on it to make sure that it is going to be safely protected and able to be handled by another person. You don't want any smudging or anything crazy like that after you send it to the gallery. So this one, I've already put a varnish on here. The next thing I'm gonna wanna do, so this is a cradled wood panel. My edges are really nice wood. I don't wanna frame this. I can hang this like it is and leave these raw birch edges to be seen on the side. You do wanna make sure this is ready to hang though. Of course, when I'm at home, I will just put a little pin in the wall and hang it from here. But for a gallery, that is not going to be something that they are okay with. And then also a lot of them, very few allow sawtooth hangers. So if you have a sawtooth hanger, I would recommend going with an alternative method, which I'm going to show you right now. So on the back here, I'm going to install a wire hanger. Now for that, I'm going to first, I've already kind of cleaned this off, but I want to make sure that the front of my art isn't going to be touching anything dirty, so I always like to clean off my table and or put down a cloth or a towel, something to protect the front of your painting while you install the hardware. The next thing you want to do is, I have a ruler here. You're going to want to measure from the top to the bottom. You want to find either the 4th or the 3rd of the way from the top, if that makes sense. So I've already put 2 marks here. I want to make sure that my D-rings, which is what the wire attaches to, I want to make sure those are somewhere in this area. You don't want it below halfway or at halfway, because it's going to fall off the wall a little bit. It's gonna it's not gonna sit flush. It's gonna lean down a little bit. The further up you go, the more flush against the wall. However, there is a point where you've gone too high. If you put your wire in here and it touches this top edge, that's gonna make it kind of difficult to hang. So that's why, like, between the top fourth and the top third, that's gonna be your sweet area for this specific hanging method. Now, for the D-rings, they come in a couple different shapes and sizes. So I have a couple here. I don't know how this brand is pronounced, but it's O-OK or Ook. We have a question?
Actually, I just wanted to remind you, always make sure you double check which side is up before you put your hardware on.
Yep, which I'm gonna do right now. Yep, I did good. Make sure that this is your top before you completely install your hardware. Yes, thank you, Emmy. All right, so D-rings come in a couple different shapes and sizes. I have this OK. They come in these cute little reusable tins, which I actually thought about, since these are made from metal, I thought about using these in my caustic practice, because then if I just use the metal tin, I can fill it with wax and heat it on my hot plate. Okay, so they also have these guys. So it depends on how big your painting is, how heavy it is. They have D-rings that come with two slots for your screws. Some of them come with just one. These ones come with the screws already in here, so these are super easy to apply. And these big guys, these are for your really heavy work. This is gonna make sure that this goes nowhere. So if you have a really thick cradled edge here and it's like, I don't know, what's a big canvas size?
20 by 30.
20 by 30. This is going to be perfect for something of that size. Since this is small and doesn't weigh a lot, I'm gonna go for these smaller singular screw D-rings. And I think since I want this to sit more flush, I'm gonna go with this 1/4 measurement over the 1/3. And you wanna make sure that these are the same length. Of course, if they're a little off, you can just slide it left and right to adjust it so it's straight, but it's gonna be so much cleaner, nicer, and more beautiful on the back if you take your ruler and you measure it from the top, same measurement down on both sides. I always think if the back looks beautiful, it's just gonna make the front even more beautiful in my mind. But let's go ahead and add those D-rings. I'm gonna put these off to the side. I have my little screwdriver here. I'm just going to poke this into my mark and then I'll screw it in. And if you're ever worried about, if you're screwing this into wood and you're worried about your wood splitting, you can always drill a pilot hole first. I don't usually get too many issues with these guys in particular. Ooh. And then here's the other one. Just gonna stick that sharp edge in and then screw it down. Alright. I like to make sure that these are a little snug so they're more flush against the back. Once we have these in, some people like them coming straight towards each other. Some people like to angle them up a little bit. It really depends. But since I went for a little bit close to the top, I'm going to keep them pointing at each other and then tighten them there so they don't slide up. Ooh. Alright, so once you have that, now you can install your wire. And for that, I've already cut a nice piece. What I like to do is I like to hold it taut in my hands and make sure that I have at least a hand width or my 4 fingers width past my D-ring so I have something to work with to add that knot. Now I got this guy from also OK, Ook, whatever you want to call it. They have different types of wire as well. So if you want some that is not braided and it has like more of a, I think it's like coated in something, so it's not like openly braided like this, they have different options. They have different weights. So if you want something more heavy duty for your like larger paintings, they have wires for that in particular as well. I believe this is the 10-pound. It's a little bit smaller, not as crazy. Now I'm going to show you how to add these wires into the D-ring. There's a very specific knot, and I don't remember what it's called. I want to say it's like the lark something.
One that holds.
Yes, the one that holds. Very specific knot. I'm going to show you how I do it. So what you're going to do is you're going to take this wire. I want to make sure you guys can see this. Put this kind of in the center here. I'm going to start by taking the tail end, the short end. I'm going to go down into the D-ring. And then I'm actually going to do that on both sides, just that I have that not flinging all over the place. I'm going to go down into the D-ring. And then I'm going to go up and over. And then I'm going to come up from the bottom and then down into this little loop. So not inside the D-ring, I'm going to slide it over. I'm going to go down into this little loop right here. And once you got it, it should look kind of like a pretzel. Can you guys see that? Where there's a little loop and then two strings coming through the bottom of that loop. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. So I'm going down into the D-ring. I'm going to go over the top, up through the bottom of that D-ring. I'm going to make sure it's nice and taut, and then down through that little loop I've created. I don't know, was that hard to see? I can always do another one.
On YouTube, Kathleen was wondering what the purpose was for going down through the D-ring first instead of up first, or if it mattered.
You can do it the other way. This is how I've learned how to do it. I've just learned that if I do it the same way every time, I'm good. If you have a different way of doing it, perfect. As long as it holds, you're good. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is, now that I have these knots, I'm going to tighten them, and I'm going to get rid of the little stray wire sticking out. So I take my needle nose pliers and try and tighten it. Might have to tighten it the other way. There we go. I'm going to have to get this taut. I'm basically just pulling this, but since I've created little dents in my wire, it's kind of hard to get it to slide into place. So that's what you see me fiddling with. There we go. Pull this, and then pull that. There we go. Now, one thing I want to check, if this is a little loose, if it's not super taut, that's okay, as long as when you push all the way up, it doesn't touch this edge. You want a little bit of clearance so that you have something for this to rest on without it touching this top lip. So this, I feel like, would be okay. It's getting a little close, but I think this is okay for how loose it is. Now, the next thing you want to do is you want to get rid of these little guys. You want to make sure it looks a little clean. So I'm just going to start wrapping it as close as I can to that knot I made and keeping it really tight and close to each other. I'm just going to keep going until my wire goes out, or if your wire is really long, you can trim it down. Keep going. And since this is a braided wire, it is a little frayed on the end. So what I like to do is I take my pliers and I just clamp down any sharp pieces that are remaining after I've finished. So now I have a really nice clean little knot there, and I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Just wrap that around really nicely. And then clamp down any pokey parts. All right, and now I have a really nice wire hanging for this painting. Now another thing, one last thing for this in particular, since I did install these D-rings on the back, if you turn it to the side, it kind of comes off the back a little bit. And since that is a screw, I would be worried about this scuffing up a museum wall or a gallery wall. So the last thing I would do is add on some bumpers. Now these are perfect. They are made by the same brand. So I have all the faith in the world that these are going to be the perfect fit. So they have, it looks like this pack has enough for 2 pieces of artwork. And I'm just going to take these stickies and put them on the corners of my canvas. Have a question?
Would you label your artwork on the back at all with like your name or?
I always think it's good to do that with everything you make. I always forget myself, but I'm going to say you should definitely label your artwork. You should make sure every piece you make has your signature at least. You also can I like to put down here, a lot of my encaustic pieces, I have a sticker on the back of each one that has the title, the measurements, and the medium. Like I said, some of those galleries are looking for that in particular. They really want to make sure that in order to submit that you have that. But yes, that is a great question. All right, and now this guy is all ready. I have my bumpers installed. I have my wire installed. And now this guy is ready to hang. Now, if you are doing something that's on paper and not on a really nicely cradled wood panel, there is a different way that you can prepare your artwork. So I'm going to put this off to the side. And I have this colored pencil drawing I did. And I want to mat and frame this. So of course you can just pop something in a frame. However, galleries really enjoy a matted piece. So if you have it in a frame, they want a little bit of breathing space around your work that separates your work from your frame. So if you are submitting something to a gallery, matting is going to be something you want to consider. Now for this, Jerry's has something that I love. They have pre-cut mats. Of course, you can cut your own mat. I actually have in the teacher's cart materials for cutting your own mat, but since I feel like that takes a lot of time and these guys are already so pretty, I went for these guys for this one in particular. And what you're going to want to do is, these are nice because it has, sorry, there's a little bit of glare. It has the size of the frame or the mat, so the outside size, as well as the picture size. Now this window or this cutout is not 11 by 14, it is actually 10.5 by 13.5 because you want a little bit of overlap from the mat and make sure that you don't have your image kind of falling out of this window. So these measurements are really important, and that exact window measurement I mentioned is right here underneath the picture size. So this is helpful. I already know 11 by 14 is the size of my artwork and 16 by 20 is going to be the size of the frame. And that is exactly what I did. I got a plein air style frame in mahogany. So pretty. I think it's going to look so good with those browns. This is a 16 by 20. So now I have both of those measurements already picked out because of the pre-cut mat I've selected. Do you have a question?
Yes, Penny had a question about the Da Vinci panel,
Yeah.
but I think it also can be applied to like more raised canvases too.
Yes.
She was wondering if you ever chose to paint or stain the sides.
Yes, so when I started doing encaustic, I was painting on birch panels constantly, and I just love the raw birch on the edges, so I would tape my edges. I have stained some, I've painted some. I just really enjoy the raw wood, personally. Everyone has their own preference, every painting's gonna have its own preference, so it's really up to you.
Thanks.
Yeah, another question?
We have two questions. First, how do you determine what size mat to use? For example, the width of the mat, and potentially if there's like a thickness.
Like vertical versus horizontal.
Yes.
Okay. I feel like usually the artwork will dictate that for you. If you have like an abstract piece, you get to kind of decide. I guess any artwork, I mean, if I want to display it like this, I definitely could. Actually, I like the bottom heavy. I could definitely display it like this. Oh, the width of the mat. Okay.
Yeah.
So you want at least an inch to an inch and a half, if not more. So I already kind of cut out, or I didn't cut it out, but I already have my mat ready. You can have it the same size or same width on all sizes. This one does have it a little bit thicker on the bottom and the top. Something I learned when I was doing printmaking is if you are creating your own mat and you want to make sure that some of the sizes are not the same, always make sure the bottom is going to be the thickest. You want to make sure that it's a little bit bottom heavy. So if you have all of these sides the same width and then this one is a little bit wider, that's going to help it feel very balanced and sit in that frame. But yeah, as long as like, of course you can have the same width all the way around. I hope this is answering your question. Okay. But it's really up to you. I would recommend, I think at the very least, like inch and a half, I feel like. But again, up to you. You can get the pre-cut sizes. These ones, like I said, thinner on the side, a little bit thicker on the top and the bottom. I can give you the exact measurements if you're curious. Awesome.
The second question was, how would you mat a canvas painting?
I would mat a canvas painting. Like a panel. You could potentially mat a panel, but if it's a canvas painting, you don't want to mat that. You want to frame that. So they have very specific frames that are made for specific depths of canvas. You'll just want to keep an eye out for the description in the frames on the website that will say whether it's accepting 3/4 inch depth canvas or 1.5 inches, 2 inches. It will say on there what it like is able to hold. But they have very specific frames for that. You do not need to mat that. Of course, there are technically no rules in art. If you want to try it, I would love to see this. But you do not have to mat your canvas paintings. All right. So the width on the sides is going to be 2 3/4. Top and bottom is going to be 3 1/4. All right, so now you don't have to do anything past this. You could just take this pre-cut mat and your artwork, place it in the window, and tape on the back side, obviously. On the back side, tape the picture to the mat, and then it's ready to put in the frame. I like a little bit more stability, and I don't have glass for this specific framing project. So I wanted a little bit more stability. I have a hinged mat. So what that means is I have my pre-cut mat, and I also have a normal, like fully sized, for if you're cutting your own mats, a full-size mat board that I cut down to the same size as the outside of this pre-cut mat. So I have the one with the window and the one without a window. They're the same size on the outside. They're going to fit inside my frame, which is a 16 by 20. Now, what I did in order for this to be hinged, so I can just pick this up, put the art in here, and lay it down, is I used the Line Co. linen hinging tape. Now, this is made specifically for this. It is made with linen, and it is, I want to say, non-toxic, or acid-free, I mean. So it's durable, and it's got acrylic adhesive, non-yellowing, archival. These are great. This is made specifically for this type of thing. Now, when it comes out, it's going to have a linen side and kind of like a papery, glossy side, and it comes in a roll. I'll show you guys. Comes in a roll like this. The top is going to be that linen, and underneath is going to be like that sticky paper. So in order to hinge this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to line the tops of each of these, and I'm going to cut a piece of that linen tape the same length, and I'm going to put them flush together and put that tape on there, which I already have. I hope you guys can see there's already tape on there. It's kind of see-through, so it blends in with the mat boards. It's not super visible. I think it looks very clean. Now, once you have this, you're able to hinge it together and it stays all perfect. The next thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to make sure that this sticks to the back mat board. So what I want to do first is I want to frame it. I want to put this in here and figure out how I want this in here. I do have the edges kind of messy, like the drawing doesn't go all the way to the edges of the paper, so I want to make sure none of that messiness is showing through. So I'm going to kind of adjust this just a little bit. And then I have my signature down here on the bottom. If I want that to be seen, I'm going to want to push that up just a little bit. There it is. I don't know if I like that. I might have to add the signature elsewhere. But okay, that's where I'm going to have it land. This is where I want it to stay. Now, how do I make sure that this stays where it is and it doesn't fall out of my mat, hinged mat that I've created? So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab something to protect my piece again. I have this giant rag. I'm going to kind of make it a little bit smaller. I'm going to put something kind of heavy-ish on top. This is going to fit through my window here. So I'm just going to whoop, open that. Hopefully it doesn't fall off. And now we're going to make a hanging tape. And I'm going to do like the T method. So what that means is you're going to want to have this hang on this back mat board. And the way you're going to do that is you're going to take two similarly sized cuts of this linen tape. And I'm going to remove that protective sticky from both of them. I'm going to kind of lay them out. Let's see if I can put it somewhere you guys can see. I'm going to lay it out sticky side up. If it will let go of me. There we go. I'm going to do the other one. And you're going to make the capital letter T. And when you do that, you want the sticky sides to be touching each other. So that means the sticky side is on the bottom, sticky side is on the top. I'm going to create a T, just like this. So now these two pieces are sticky and this part underneath here is sticky. I'm now going to stick this, I'm going to lift this up a little bit, hopefully it doesn't move on me. I'm going to stick this under here, lay down the top of my T, get that flat, and then I'm going to stick that to the back. So now I have this adhered to my mat board. It's not going to go anywhere. It's in the perfect spot that I want it. And now it's not going to fall out, and it only takes 2 pieces of tape. All right, so now that I'm at this point, I'm going to pop it in a frame. Like I said, I have that really nice mahogany. Let me see what the top is. This is the top. I'm going to lay it with the front down. Push those out of the way. And then I'm going to take this guy, flip it over, and lay it perfectly in that frame. Now you can add an extra backing if you would like. You can add glass, you can add plexi, whatever it is else that you would like in here. Make sure you put that in before this next step. So the next step is going to be to make sure this doesn't fall out the back. So for that, I have a point driver, I believe is what it's called. And what it does is going to create a little piece of metal that holds everything in place. So what you're going to do is you're going to push this up against the ledge here, make sure it's flat and all the way against, and then you're going to pull the trigger, and it's going to leave this little piece of metal that holds everything in place. You can put as many or as few as you like, and since this is like a really like flexible metal, if you want to like bend it, take it out, put something else in there, you can. It also has a little bit of a hole, so if you need to pull it out and put it somewhere else, you can as well. I'm just going to put one on each side. Have a question?
With a
Comment?
note on that, they're not reusable. Like you can't
No,
pull
yeah.
it out and then stab it somewhere else. Like you'd have to get a new one.
Right.
So
Thank you. I'm just going to put one on each side so we can flip it over. I don't like going towards myself. There we go. All right, now I'm gonna flip it over and it is ready and beautiful. Look at that. Now the last thing I'm gonna wanna do is put that wire, same thing as before. You're going to put it on the back, create that same knot, twist those wires at the end, make sure you measure it down. Same thing for this, it's just the start of it was a little bit different. All right. And I have one more option when it comes to finishing your work. I have this guy up here. This is from a previous show that I did on collage. And this is a bamboo frame. I wanted a very specific, like sustainable material for my frame. So this is a very purposeful frame. Now, the thing is, the back has one of these guys, so I can put it on a table, but it also has a sawtooth hanger. Both of those are not going to be accepted in a gallery, so it does also have D-rings attached. So they have D-rings up here on the top as well as on the side. They have, yes, they have some right here, so whether you have it this way or this way, they have those little D-rings so you can install a little wire. So now this is acceptable for a gallery. If you are worried about them saying something about these are so easily removed. There's just a couple screws, you can take it off. And again, you can put those little bumpers on the corners. This is a little bit more flush. But yes, I believe this is the Ambiance. Okay, we'll look it up. This is from a previous show, so I didn't have this in the cart. But yes, we have so many frames. Actually, I think I want to put this guy up here because I like this guy.
They're the Ambiance Eco frames.
Yes, Ambiance Eco frames. They make them in 2 different woods, which are fast growing if you're curious. They make them out of rubber wood and bamboo. So if you're curious about those, I love those. And I didn't realize that the backs of that had so many different like hanging options. So cool. Okay, so the next thing we're going to talk about is how do you take pictures of your artwork. Now this is a super important part of applying to shows because even if your art is incredibly beautiful, if the photograph you submit isn't what they're looking for or doesn't fit their requirements, you might be taken out of the run simply for the quality of your photo. So I'm going to give you a couple of tips on creating a good photo. The first thing is lighting. You want to make sure that it is lit well, whether that's from like being outdoors, like really even lighting from outside, or you have lights. So I have the ColorView Luxe lights with their stands. They have a bundle where it has 2 lights and 2 stands, and I believe I put that in the teacher's cart. I do recommend having at least 2 sources of lighting if you're going with this option, if not 4. If you're photographing flat on a table, it's always good to have light coming from all 4 corners if you're doing like square or rectangle. 2, I think, is the minimum, or if you have 1 and you kind of angle it perfectly, it might work, but I always think it's a little bit more balanced if you have 2 lights. Another thing is you want a neutral background. So for this one, I have a roll of sketch paper. I also have a thicker poundage paper roll in there as well, because I think these just went out of stock this morning. But they're both Strathmore, and it's a small roll of paper, and super easy. You just roll this out on the wall or on your table, and you have something clean and crisp and white to photograph on. So what you want to do is you're going to pin this up or lay it on your table, center your piece, and then you're going to get your lighting ready. And I like having them not like right in front, but a little bit off to the side and pointing at it at kind of like a 45-degree angle. So it's a little bit off camera for this one, but the other one I'll show you is going to be right about here. Now I don't have a lot of space to show you this, but you do want to make sure that you have a little bit of distance between the light and the pieces. If I had a little bit more space, I'd probably push these further back, especially since these are very powerful. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn these on, and you're going to want to adjust these lights until the lighting feels perfect. So what I mean by that is if you're looking at your piece and you see a glare, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to either adjust it up, down, to the right, left, until that glare is removed. Another thing that you can do is you can make sure it's not directly hitting it, but maybe these light rays are crossing somewhere in front. You can also direct the lights with these guys. You can narrow it down. It does create a little bit more of a harsher light, but it really depends on the piece, on what exactly you want to do with your lights. You can also diffuse your lights if they're too strong, but I think that's pretty good. And then I'll stand right in front of it and take it directly on. I want to make sure that it's not skewed. So if you're taking a photo with either a camera or your phone, make sure that you're lining up the edges of your frame with the edges of your artwork. You can leave a little bit of space on the outsides, so if you want to see a little bit of this white, you can. I wouldn't leave too much of it. If you are submitting something, we really like seeing, like, because Emmy and I do a little bit of judging on the side, we like to see a little bit of just the edge. Like if it's just the painting and nothing else, and it's perfectly framed, beautiful. We don't want to see your face. We don't want to see your easel. If you have like uneven edges, it just ruins. Yeah, don't skew. Make sure you focus on like the angle. Like take more time with the setup than actually taking the picture. It's really gonna pay off, I promise you. Having a question?
Don't screenshot
Yes.
on your phone and
Don't
submit
screenshot
that.
it.
If I can see your battery life on there, I'm going to be a little upset.
Yeah, we have had people take a picture of the picture on their phone.
On a table.
On a table, yeah.
Don't
But-
hang your reference image up next to it.
Yes. We just want to see your beautiful art cropped wonderfully and have really good quality image. That's all we want. We just want to see a beautiful piece of artwork. Have a question?
Yes, what color hue do you want the lights to be that you're using for lighting?
I like something neutral, so they go from cool to warm. It also depends on the piece of art. If your art is really cool, you want a cool lighting. If your art is really vibrant, you want something a little bit more cool or neutral. If you have a really warm piece, like maybe you want warmer light, depends on the piece. But I do think I'm leaning towards like something neutral, somewhere in between, I think is a good go-to. All right. And it's 6:30, look at that. All right, that is everything I have for you guys today. I hope I got everything that you were looking for. If there was something I didn't get to, like maybe you want to know how to ship a piece, let us know and we can do another show. Maybe if you want a little bit more information on photographing your work, we can definitely do that. Put that in the chat or in the comments of this video so that we know. But thank you guys for joining me. We always enjoy having you. Yeah. If you are interested in that September monthly contest, the visual narrative, don't forget that the deadline for that is this Sunday. So if you want to join that or you want to be a part of that, don't forget about that deadline. Today's class code was JL399. So anything that I was using and more, I always like to add a little extra into the teacher's cart. Anything that I used, put that in the search bar on JerrysArtarama.com, hashtag or just JL399, and it will pop up. And then if you join us next week, now that we've had something a little bit more educational, next week we have something a little bit more fun. We have a mystery art box next week. And it's going to be both me and Emmy. If you have seen those before, they are so much fun. If you have not, definitely come check out the chaos. We never know what we're gonna get, but all we have is a little sketch and we just figure things out as we go. It's so much fun. So if you're interested in that, come see us next time. But other than that, thanks for coming. See you later. Bye.